May 12, 1944, late afternoon. The Führer Headquarters is dim, heavy with smoke. A single lamp spills light across a map laid flat on the table. Red pins mark Leuna, Ploiești, Ruhr. A clock ticks, too loud, too steady. Hitler stands still. He listens to reports arriving by teleprinter. Numbers, losses, fuel plants burning. Outside, aircraft engines fade into distance. Inside, coffee cools untouched. For years, he believed the Luftwaffe would hold the sky. Now the sky answers to someone else. They thought they had understood the war, but what they saw changed everything. The corridors outside the briefing room remain quiet, but not calm. Boots echo, then stop. Voices lower. Doors close softly. Inside, the air feels used. Smoke hangs beneath the ceiling lamps. A radio murmurs reports from the west, its signal cracking, never finishing a sentence. Maps tremble slightly as someone rests a hand on the table. Coffee sits forgotten, cold now, bitter. An aide turns a page too quickly. Paper scratches the silence. The room is full, yet no one speaks first. They wait for certainty, for reassurance. Instead, they hear times, targets, percentages, fuel losses, sorties aborted, pilots missing. Each detail arrives without drama. That is what makes it heavy. This is not panic, not yet. It is the slow erosion of confidence. For years, the Luftwaffe had been the shield, the proof. Now the shield feels thin, transparent. No one says it aloud, but everyone senses the same thought forming, steady and unwelcome. For years, the logic had seemed sound, almost elegant. Germany did not need to dominate the air forever, only long enough. In 1940, the Luftwaffe fields over 5,000 operational aircraft. By 1942, monthly production reaches nearly 1,000 planes. Fighter output alone doubles in 2 years. On paper, the numbers look reassuring. Rows of machines, fresh paint, factory stamps. Enough aircraft, it seems, to refill the sky. The planners trust the system. New pilots will replace the fallen. Fuel will be rationed but sufficient. Radar networks will warn early. Flak belts will thicken. Each assumption leans on the last. If production rises, losses can be absorbed. If losses are absorbed, morale holds. If morale holds, the sky remains contested. And for a time, it works, or appears to. Bombers fall. Formations scatter. Newspapers speak of resilience. A map shows gaps where raids failed. Small victories carefully framed, but the logic hides its weakness. A trained pilot is not a machine. A replacement needs months, not days. Fuel shortages do not slow evenly. They cut suddenly. Factories disperse, output fragments, quality slips. The numbers remain. The meaning drains away. From a distance, the structure still stands. Up close, stress lines spread quietly beneath the surface. But beneath the triumph, the first cracks had already formed. The reports arrive faster now. Typed lines, carbon copies, stamped times, no commentary. May 12-13, 1944. Operation Pointblank reaches its true target. Leuna synthetic fuel plant hit repeatedly. Production falls by over 50% in days. A complex once feeding entire air fleets now burns in sections, pipe by pipe. Ploiești oil fields, refineries damaged again. Output collapses to a fraction of early 1944 levels. Thousands of barrels per day vanish. Enough fuel to ground whole wings. German fighter losses. Over 600 aircraft destroyed in 2 days. That is not a battle, that is a season erased. Experienced pilots lost. Irreplaceable. Men with hundreds of flight hours gone in minutes. Training schools cannot compensate. The figures stack up. They do not argue. They do not persuade. They simply exist. Fuel reserves fall below operational minimums. Sortie rates drop, then collapse. Pilots sit idle, engines cold, runways intact but useless. A squadron without fuel is not delayed. It is absent. Anti-aircraft guns fire thousands of shells per raid. The sky absorbs them. Bombers continue through smoke and debris. Rail lines buckle. Repair crews work by night. Bombs return by day. Every 3 or 4 figures the picture sharpens. Factories in the Ruhr glow red after dusk, an industrial horizon on fire. Rail yards twist into knots of steel. Storage tanks burn long enough to light entire cities. The assumptions begin to fall, one by one. Production does not equal readiness. Aircraft without fuel are decorations. Pilots without hours are passengers. Radar stations report earlier warnings. It no longer matters. There are no fighters left to guide. By late May, internal memoranda change tone. Words like temporary disappear. They are replaced by critical, unsustainable, irreversible. The Luftwaffe has not been defeated in one battle. It has been hollowed out. A force designed for speed and dominance now reacts slowly, blindly. The sky belongs to someone else. When the last report is read, no one speaks. There is nothing left to clarify. Silence follows. And in that silence, truth becomes undeniable. The room is empty now, not abandoned, simply cleared. Hitler sits alone at the long table. The map remains spread before him, corners curled, pins unmoved. Light enters through a narrow window, late, pale. It touches the paper but not his face. A single report lies open. He does not rush it. He reads each line twice, sometimes 3 times. Fuel output figures, training hours, fighter readiness. Each number is smaller than the last. Each margin note is tighter, more careful, almost apologetic. The clock continues its work, second by second, unconcerned. He removes his glasses, rubs the bridge of his nose. Smoke rises from a cigarette forgotten between his fingers. This is not anger. This is not denial. This is the moment when confidence collapses inward. For years, he believed collapse would come suddenly, a dramatic breach, a final battle, a visible failure. Instead, it arrives quietly, on paper, in arithmetic. The truth forms without words. The Luftwaffe is not wounded, it is trapped. Aircraft exist but cannot fly. Pilots exist but cannot train. Runways exist but lead nowhere. He realizes the enemy has not chased German air power into defeat. They have starved it, slowly, systematically, fatally. This is not a setback to be reversed. Fuel plants take months to rebuild. Pilots take years. Time is no longer available. The war in the air is already lost. Not soon. Already. He knows what this means for everything else. Armored divisions without air cover. Cities without protection. Armies moving by night, guessing, hoping. Maps no longer represent plans. They represent wishes. He closes the report carefully, as if it might break. Outside, distant engines pass overhead. Not German. For the first time, he does not imagine a counterstroke. He imagines endurance, delay, survival through darkness. The decision that follows is not spoken yet, but it is inevitable. If the sky cannot be reclaimed, it must be bypassed. Missiles instead of fighters, terror instead of control, night instead of air superiority. This is the realization that reshapes the war, not with noise, with certainty. He sits still longer than usual. The map waits, the clock waits, history waits. He knew it then, not might be lost, was lost. The failure does not begin in May 1944. It only becomes visible then. The Luftwaffe collapses because its foundations were never designed for endurance. Speed mattered, shock mattered, continuity did not. Training is the first hidden mechanism. In 1940, a German fighter pilot receives over 200 flight hours before combat. By 1944, many receive fewer than 120, some far less. A pilot trained halfway cannot fight a full war. This is not courage, it is arithmetic. Fuel becomes the second mechanism. Synthetic plants turn coal into liquid fuel, slowly and delicately. They work like long kitchens, not factories. Destroy the pipes and the stove goes cold. Repairs take months. Bombs return in days. Production is the third mechanism. Germany builds aircraft faster than ever in 1944. Over 3,000 fighters in a single month, enough to darken a sky, on paper. But machines without fuel are static. Planes without trained pilots do not fight. Output rises as capability collapses. Command structure completes the trap. Decisions centralize. Flexibility disappears. Field commanders wait for approvals that arrive too late. By the time orders come, the situation has already changed. Intelligence fails next. Without air reconnaissance, the Wehrmacht loses its eyes. Enemy movements blur, intentions vanish. From Normandy to the Ardennes, German forces move blind. Every system depends on the others. When fuel fails, training fails. When training fails, losses rise. When losses rise, production loses meaning. This is not a single mistake. It is an irreversible chain. The Allies do not need to defeat the Luftwaffe in battle. They let it exhaust itself inside a closed system, a system that cannot breathe. Hitler's turn to V-weapons is not madness. It is logic inside a doomed framework. If control of the sky is impossible, bypass it. Strike cities at night without pilots. But missiles cannot protect railways. They cannot escort divisions. They cannot regain lost airspace. The truth is simple and fatal. Air power is not built in factories alone. It is built in time, fuel, training, and freedom to adapt. Germany has none of these left. By mid-1944, the Luftwaffe is not losing. It has already collapsed. The war only continues because the system has not yet admitted it. This is how modern wars end, not with a single blow, but inside mechanisms that grind forward, long after choice has disappeared. The consequences unfold quickly, though they feel slow to those inside them. Without control of the sky, Germany loses the rhythm of war. Rail lines are destroyed faster than they can be repaired. Bridges fall, are rebuilt, then fall again. Each gap delays divisions by days, sometimes weeks. Fuel shortages spread outward like a stain. Tank units remain intact but immobile. Pilots remain alive but grounded. Ships stay in harbor, waiting for fuel that never comes. In June 1944, Allied forces land in Normandy under near-total air supremacy. German movements are seen, tracked, and struck from above. Columns move at night, headlights off, engines throttled low. Progress slows to walking speed. By December in the Ardennes, the pattern repeats. The offensive depends on fog and hope. When the skies clear, it collapses within days. None of this surprises the data. The outcome was already written in fuel reports and training logs. What changes is only visibility. Hitler's decision to rely on V1 and V2 brings noise, fear, and destruction, but it does not bring control. Missiles terrify cities, not armies. They punish, but they cannot decide wars. By early 1945, the Luftwaffe exists mostly in memory. Aircraft stand wing to wing on airfields, unable to fly. Young pilots wait for orders that will never come. The sky belongs entirely to the enemy. Looking back, historians do not mark this collapse with a single explosion. They mark it with dates, charts, and production curves, with hours flown, with tons of fuel lost. The moment of realization mattered, but the verdict had already been delivered by systems set in motion years earlier. This is the quiet lesson of air power and modern war. Superiority is not lost when the enemy wins a battle. It is lost when the foundations can no longer support the force built upon them. In war, even perfect victories can seal your defeat.